There we go. Look at that, everyone. We did it. We did it. Okay, so with that, I hand it off. Thank you, Damien. I hand it off to our speakers today, Kelly Campanella and Josh Surgison. They will introduce themselves, talk a little bit about the work that they are doing with co-creating and engaging with the future. So with that, Kelly, I'm going to ask you to kick us off, and then we'll hand it off to Josh.
Thanks so much, Ashley. And hello, everyone. I see some familiar names. So hello to local Bay Area cultural workers. It's good to see everyone. Once again, my name's Kelly Campanella. I use she, her pronouns, and I currently work at the Oakland Museum of California as a learning experience and program developer, specializing in school age programming. And I've been at the museum for a little over 5 years now. And I've worked both in the arts and youth development for about over 15 years. And I wanted to share with you today about a program that started at the museum in 2020 and is currently up in our gallery of art. So you can go and see it yourself at the Oakland Museum. Let me know if you need a way to get in there. I can help you. So this program is also about to kind of restart again. So we're gearing up for a gallery reinstall, and we'll work with a new school as well. And so the program is called Radical Acts, and it is also the name of the section of the gallery. And so throughout the 1960s and 70s, California activists and artists kind of focused their creative energy towards social transformation. And included in the Radical Act section of the art gallery are a selection of social justice posters, and they're part of the All of Us or None archive. And that All of Us or None archive was a project started in 1977 by the free speech movement activist Michael Rossman. And the collection consists of over 20,000 posters. So it's a huge collection. It's now part of the Oakland Museum of California. So one of the things that we did was we partnered with a local school and asked students to choose a poster from those selected in the Radical Acts. And we wanted students to kind of look at it and see how they could relate the posters that were political posters from the 60s and 70s and how they related to today. So we asked students to look at the posters, interpret them in their own words, and then students actually created their own poster inspired by things that were happening around them or things that they were inspired by the posters. So in 2020, we were geared up to launch this kind of program and have a school group join us on site. Their field trip day was March, I think 18th, 2020. And so as you can imagine, that was canceled. They did not come on site in 2020. And we were working with Berkeley High, and Berkeley High, as well as the museum, pivoted, and we turned this program into a virtual program. And so we worked virtually like most people did in 2020, and we collaborated with the students. What was really cool is that the students were able to interpret the work, create their own work inspired by these posters. It took a little bit of time to kind of get the turnaround because of COVID and the close down. But what was really cool is that it is now up. And it's been up for quite a while now. It did take longer than it would due to COVID, but it is up. And you can go and see inside the art gallery. And not only can you see students' responses to the posters that are actually listed right next to the poster, but we also have a digital screen in there that plays the students' artwork. So it's really cool to see students' artworks able to be displayed in the museum. They're really taking an active role in not only the interpretation, but ways that they are connecting with the material. And it's really great. I feel like student interpretations can spark critical thinking and discussions for both students and visitors to see things kind of from a new angle. An exciting thing is that, there's no kind of COVID lockdown anymore, and we are a museum, and so we need to cycle out a lot of our artwork. And so we'll be bringing in new posters into this collection that we display in the Radical Act section. And so we'll bring in new posters. And so we're currently working with a new school, Oakland Unified School District, Skyline High. and we're going to be working with Skyline High, and we're going to be doing the same project again. The only thing is that to be a little bit more interactive, they're going to be able to come to the museum. They're going to be able to see the posters, be inspired by them, and then go back to their class. And once they've kind of started the project, we'll go to the school. Curators, experience developers, and educators will go to the school to work with the students to both help them interpret the artwork and just kind of inspire them and listen to them. The project is really student-centered, and so we don't really dictate much about what the students choose, what the students say about the artwork, or what the artwork is that they make that's inspired by these posters. So we're excited to kind of start the project again. Previously, we worked with a history class, and we're now going to be working with a art class. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the different classes kind of interpret the work and are inspired to create their own posters. But that's something that we're pretty proud of at the museum. We don't have, there's many museums around the Bay Area that have really robust teen programs, both in internship programs and have partnered with school districts. We do not have as much robust teen programs. You see a lot of more school age programs at the museum, meaning like elementary school programs at the Oakland Museum. So we're continuing to like build up our teen programs, but we're really excited about this project that started in 2020, the feedback that we've gotten, and the way that students who enter the museum are able to see other student voice represented in the museum, I think is really important. And so we're excited to kind of start this project again. And I encourage you all to kind of check it out, be able to see what students, the messages that students receive from the museum poster collection. And also just, it's kind of remarkable how relatable the 1970s can be to current politics today, and how students are able to relate to topics that were in the 1970s and really talk about them from their perspective. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions later, but I'm going to pass it over to Josh to tell you a little bit about the work that he's doing.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you to Cultural Connections and Hugo for giving me this opportunity to come here to speak with all of you. I'm super excited to speak about the work we do at Boys and Girls Club in Napa Valley, and more specifically in our teen programs. My name is Joshua Search. Like I said, I'm the Teen Services Area Director. So what that means is I oversee all of our middle school and high school programs for the Boys and Girls Club in Napa Valley. For the last 10 years, I spent specifically working in our teen center. Boys and Girls Club Napa Valley has one teen center located at Napa Clubhouse, and it's called Club 1515. And it's really grown to be something a lot bigger than what we initially wanted it to be. It's gone on to be nationally recognized for some of its programs. And one of the programs that it got recognized for was one of our collaborations we did with DeRosa Center for Contemporary Arts. And that's why I'm here today. That program really transformed our teen center. At the time when I came in 2015, we were just looking for opportunities to engage with our teens and get them talking. When you look around our room, you saw kids from all different backgrounds. When you come after school every single day, what you would see if you walked into our teen center, you would see kids from different backgrounds, different lifestyles, people that normally wouldn't come together, but they had this teen center in common. So they would come after school. If you were in here, you would see anything from recreational activities to leadership activities to art. It's pretty open for the teens to choose what they want to do, and we kind of guide it. But what we were looking for is how do we get these teens to talk to each other, respect one another, and learn from one another. So we created a program at the time called Group Chat. So we would get them around, get them talking about different topics. And then that kind of grew, right? And then we were able to, Hugo actually reached out to us because he formerly worked for Boys and Girls Club, and he was able to make that connection with our teen center. And he had the great idea of being able to collaborate with us and bring in an artist so that we could grow our art programs. But the uniqueness about it was that they were going to be a resident artist in our program, and we were going to embed them inside our teen center. They're going to become part of what we were already doing. So I think that's why it really worked. So in 2016, we were able to bring in our first resident artist to our program. They were able, like I said, the first thing they did is they were able to meet our teens where they were. So they came into their space They engulfed themselves into our programmings, our leadership programs, some of our fun activities in the gym, things that we were already doing, got to know the students first, and then they started implementing some of their teachings when it came to art and different projects that they had. Our first project we did in 2016 was a mask making project. So our teens were able to design masks and then do a full photo shoot. I wish I could show you the pictures of these photo shoots that we have. They're incredible. They're still in our teen center to this day. They were learned how to do their own photo shoot, how to use Photoshop, things like that. But what we also included in that was be able to take them outside of our teen center and to go put them firsthand at DeRosa to be able to see other people's art and be inspired by other artists. And the cool thing about DeRosa was when they got there, they learned that all the art that was there is all Bay Area artists. So for the first time, a lot of these students who didn't consider themselves artists or they didn't feel like they could do art, they were standing in rooms of people who once felt that same way, and now they have art on the wall, right? So when we walked away from those tours, they would come to us and be like, hey, how do we get our art in that building, right? How do we become part of that? And so it was really cool to see them inspired. And then it led to, after a culminating event at the very end of that project, that's exactly what happened. So they created these art pieces that were able to be showcased at DeRosa. They were able to give their own presentation to people and members of DeRosa about their art. And so that project initially in 2016 really sparked what we've been doing over the last 9 years until now. So we've had multiple projects like that where we bring in different artists. I think the next one that really standed out for me was during COVID. We were looking for ways, again, how do we meet teens where they're at, right? How do we bring art in a time where we can't be in person? So we were able to do that through Zoom, and we worked with an artist named Arlene Correa Valencia. We started on Zoom. That led to a project, and the one I'm about to talk about, when we were able to come out of COVID, and we already built those connections on Zoom. They were comfortable with our students. We were able to bring her in. And then we did a screen printing project. Or originally, that's what the project was going to be about. We actually failed at that project, which I think at first our teens were a little disappointed that we weren't able to do the screen printing. But that project actually taught a bigger lesson that sometimes when we're doing these things, it doesn't always work out. And it actually led to something bigger. Through that conversation, getting to know our teens, Arlene was able to actually tap into something that was a lot bigger than just screen printing t-shirts. We have an alleyway that leads to our club right next to right through our doors. And these kids take a walk every single day down our alleyway to get here. And if you look at the Napa Valley, you wouldn't consider Napa Valley something that is split due to gang violence or violence right next to our Boys and Girls Club, but it is. And so our teens for a long time wanted to figure out a way they could clean up their neighborhood, contribute to their neighborhood, and do it in a way that's impactful, that embraces the people that are living there. And so Arlene was able to do a mural project within our alleyway where we were able to clean up our alleyway, do a huge mural. It was called Somos Fuertes Unidos. And they were able to do it in both English and Spanish. And when I tell you the project itself, the process itself of going outside, painting the fence, putting everything up, using the colors that we did. We used purple to signify both red and blue, and bringing those two gangs together. The process itself was really the art piece. The mural looks amazing. It's still out there to this day. That alleyway used to get tagged up every day. To this day, it still has not got tagged up since we put that mural up. But it was the process of bringing 30, 40 teens together for that one common project, and seeing them all come out together, and then seeing the community come out together, and they had an opportunity to tie something to the fence and contribute to their community. So it wasn't that we were going out there with our teens and saying this is what our community is. It was embracing our community, allowing them to add something to it too. So that's really what has sparked our art programs. It's really transformed our teen center fully, because our teens believe in themselves now. They believe that they can be artists. They can see their artwork in places like DeRosa, and then they can make a contribution in their community. And now it's sparked a lot of our students wanting to get more into the arts and the industry, and even into the workforce, and be like some of you as well. That's our next frontier. How do we get them into the workforce, and using these talents that we've cultivated now and getting them out to the community and being contributing members like all of you. So that's what we're doing here at Club 1515. And thanks to DeRosa, we've been able to really transform our programs.
Awesome. thank you both so much. I'm really excited to delve into these questions just to get a little bit more and more of those threads about that. So to kick off, and either one of you can start on this. But I will say as I mean I was once a youth, and I am no longer a youth based on today's standards. But that being said, I think sometimes one of the things I see is that, like, we used to be young and now that we're older, but sometimes there ends up being like this disconnect in being able to connect with younger folks. And so I think something that'd be helpful to get perspective from you both is like, what are skills that you recommend learning or honing to better engage with young people, especially when it, comes from being in, cultural institutions?
One thing I like that Josh had said was to meet students where they're at. I think that that's really important. I think at the museum, we're really looking at how to be student-centered, to be active listeners, and be kind of adaptable and creative and all of those things. I think being able to listen to students' interests and thoughts can really help to guide meaningful conversation and be able to connect them. And that's one of the things we're trying to do, is to be able to connect and have the museum feel relevant to their world. And so we are looking to make the experience engaging and interactive. But we're also trying to make it feel, we're the Oakland Museum of California, and I want Bay Area students to feel represented within the museum. I want them to see themselves both in the artwork and that's displayed, in the artists, and really the stories that are being told and represented. I want students and teens to leave that space feeling like they felt like their story, their culture, their town was represented, and hopefully it can inspire them to kind of go out there and know that they're the future, that they're the next kind of Oakland of California residents. They're the next artists that could be featured inside the museum and things like that. So that's something that we're really working on, is just how to be student centered, and to not provide an experience for them, but have them have an active role in providing the experience that they're coming in to partake in.
Yeah, and I would agree with Kelly too on everything she just said. Another thing I would add to that is that I think a big skill is that I think a lot of times us as adults, when we're talking to youth, I think we have all the answers, and we may have some of the answers, but I really believe what we need to do is we need to ask teens specifically, we need to have the right questions. We don't have to always have the right answers. We need to have the right questions. They'll get to them. And I think that's what we've done a lot of times in our teen centers here, is that we're asking the right questions, and we're following up, right, with opportunity. I think that's the problem, is you can give somebody answers, this is what you should do, but unless they've seen it, unless you can show them it, like I said, when we brought them to DeRosa, right, we could say you could be an artist. Until we brought them to DeRosa and then put an artist in front of them that understood their background and where they came from, and then could show them a different future. Until they saw that, those were just words, and we were just engaging with them. But once you give them opportunity and they run with it, they have the answers. They'll find them. So that's the kind of skill that I think it takes to engage them, and then just really listening. Listen to what they have to say. They're I know a lot of times teens and middle schoolers can get this rap that they're not willing to listen. They are. You just got to be able to consistently come back every single day, ask those questions again, and then listen.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I do want to just say, if anyone from the audience, if you have a question, feel free to drop it into the chat, and we can go ahead and throw it out there. Ashley and I prepared a few questions, a few things to talk about. So yeah, please just drop your questions in the chat. Kind of moving on. What are some of the challenges? What do you find difficult about engaging with youth? Especially, Kelly, as a cultural institution, or from that perspective, what are some of the challenges that you find in working with you?
I think that it's a challenge that probably people and museums have faced for years. I may have gone to school for art, and I, currently work in youth development, but I did not grow up going to museums and galleries. That felt very foreign to me, and I think a lot of kids in the community and a lot of youth in the community also haven't. I mean, I speak to a lot of people that have lived in Oakland for years and have never come to the Oakland Museum of California. And we have a lot of students who that'll be their first time at the Oakland Museum. And so I think that, and over time, we're going to see a shift in how youth interact with art and culture. And so sometimes the museum setting is not kind of what you think of as like fresh and dynamic and all of those things. And so I think that, cultural institutions need to reflect the values that younger audiences have and want to see represented. And that can be difficult, but I think teens in general seek inclusive and diverse and more participatory experiences. And so really looking at that, looking at ways that the experience can be more inclusive. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to include student voice inside the gallery, so that they could feel like this was a moment where their voice was heard and represented. Um, and then another thing is financial barriers. I think that cultural institutions and programs need to be free for teens. I don't think that there's any way that a teen should have to worry about paying for any of these experiences or programs. So really looking at how you can get funding or grants or just opportunities that take the financial pressure off of any of those programs. So, we have all school age students, 18 and under, are free at the museum. And so really being able to have an opportunity that the experience is free and relevant. I think that's really key. We just recently had an exhibition really highlighting queer Chicanx artists, and I think we saw like an uptick in high school attendance in that exhibition. I think it felt relevant to them, and it felt something like maybe they weren't used to seeing in a gallery or a museum. And so that's a little bit exciting. So that's one of the things I would say is to take away that cost barrier and to provide relevant and exciting content.
Yeah, and I think the only barriers we really deal with here in the teen center is consistency and finding the right people, right? You got to find the right people to be able to kind of change some of those mindsets. They come in with mindsets like I was talking about, that maybe art's not for them, or some of these institutions are not for them, or opportunities are not for them. And so finding the right people that can connect with them and do it consistently. That's a big piece. And then when we do collaborate, I think another obstacle is just having the same consistent kids. Our teen centers, you can come and go. So they choose with their feet. So if there's something that they're not into, even though you sell it the best way possible, this can be the most awesome thing that they want to participate in. The next day, if it wasn't the right thing for them, they can walk with their feet. So it's just keeping consistent and trying to engage them every single day, and not letting your foot off the pedal with them, and continue to give them more opportunities. The worst thing you can do is present them something and then not give them the opportunity that you said you were going to. So find the right people and then being consistently engaging them. That's what we run into.
Awesome. Consistency. Yes. I love that. We all want that, don't we? All right. We're actually going to change things up a little bit, because folks already have their questions and they need them answered. So with that in the chat, Kelly, we have a question for you. How and why did OMCA, or the Oakland Museum of California, choose to partner with the particular high schools that they're working with? And thank you, Maya, for the question.
Thanks, Maya. Yeah, the first round just had to do with like a community connection to the teacher. And so it was something that, because it was a pilot program, I think there was kind of an already connection, or already a built connection with that teacher. And so that was utilized. As we move forward, we currently have a teacher, like a summer teacher cohort that we're starting, where we're working with Bay Area, East Bay, and there's a few San Francisco teachers that we're working with over the summer to help us kind of build curriculum and things. So those will kind of become future like partners as well. The current school that we're working with, we really wanted to partner with Oakland Unified School District this time. Like I said previously, it was Berkeley Unified School District at Berkeley High. This year, we really wanted to partner with Oakland Unified School District. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but Oakland Unified School District has gone through a lot of difficulties in the last few years coming out of COVID and even prior to COVID. And we actually, being in Oakland, we actually have a hard time sometimes getting OUSD schools to attend the museum. It has a lot to do with transportation barriers for them, and just a lot of the like logistics. It's not that they don't want to or anything like that. We have reduced fees for Title I and OUSD schools, so it's not really the cost barrier, but it is a transportation barrier. We've been working with that to try to provide kind of free transportation. We've worked with both the BART system and things like that. But like I said, we wanted to work with the Oakland Unified School District. We're providing the transportation for the school to kind of take away that barrier. And so, yeah, just like I said, we want to build up that partnership and we want local Oakland kids to be able to be at the Oakland Museum. So that was a priority for us this year, is really focused on OUSD.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Hugo, I'll hand it back to you for the next question.
All right, so we have another question from the chat from Mercy. Have teens who partnered with or engaged with your organizations led to future work opportunities or volunteer opportunities for them later on? And then can you speak to and if and how it transformed the work that you do with them?
Yeah, I can speak to that one a little bit. Yeah, we've actually had quite a few of our teens from working with these artists and bringing them in, be able to get real workforce opportunities. A few of them over the last few years have actually gone on to be interns in the summer for our programs, for the programs at DeRosa. So they've been able to be interns there, as well as this last summer at the La Onda Festival. We were actually able to, our teams were able to actually volunteer and to make these barrels, these art pieces that were actually used at La Onda. So their artwork was actually at that music festival. And then from there, we've actually been able to bring in, we do these monthly panels where we bring in different industry professionals throughout the Bay Area to come in and meet our students and do panels where they're able to ask them questions and network. And one of our panels was with DeRosa. We're able to bring different, not just artists, right? We're talking about people who work in the art industry to come and talk about their journey to success. And I think that's what's really transformed. They're learning about people beyond just their title. They're learning that these people have real stories. Artists were them before they became these famous artists and have their artwork in galleries. So I think that's how it's transformed. I think kids now in our programs are thinking bigger. I think they're dreaming a lot bigger, and they know that if they do dream, that these opportunities are actually going to be there for them because they've met people out in the community that they've seen that care about them enough to come meet with them where they are. So those have been some cool opportunities, and we're hoping for more. We're hoping for more people to come get involved in our programs and to give them opportunities to come work in these industries that they're falling in love with.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. For the next question, which I think can apply for both of you actually, but I'll hand it back to Kelly to start off. So we have a question from Morgan. Was there any feedback that you got from teens about the program while you were creating it or during it that was surprising or perhaps made you change your approach?
Thanks for Morgan for that question. The first go around was a little tricky because it was launched during COVID. And so even though we usually we'd work with like, we'd work with juniors or possibly seniors. We worked with a senior class that then graduated. So they graduated before we were even able to display the artwork. And that was a COVID challenge with kind of our timeline. This year, I think will be a lot different because we'll be working with students and they'll be able to, before they graduate, this is one of their final kind of senior projects that they work on. Um, this will, they will be able to kind of have a culminating event and be able to, like, as a class, see their work hung in the Oakland Museum, which should be pretty impactful. I've heard from other students that have now graduated or in college or are, out in the community, who've come back and seen their work there, and it's been really impactful for them. I mean, I've been a professional artist for years, and even though I work at the museum, I'm nowhere close to getting my work on the walls in the gallery. So to have students have not only their words and interpretations reflected, but also their artwork displayed, is really impactful for them and kind of is a huge step in their kind of career as artists. One of the things that I think we did change our approach is that the previous class was a history class, and this class will be an art class. And so just really looking, I think we had a lot of students that were more comfortable in 2020 doing interpretations of the artwork and writing about it, and maybe less confident in their art making. And so we'll see as the shift. With an art class where students are kind of more confident or have more time to build in kind of the art practice. This will also be an assignment for that art class, where previously it was optional. It was COVID, they were really just trying to get kids to show up on Zoom. And so this was an optional project. So I think that'll be interesting too. The feedback that we got was really positive, both from the teacher and from the students. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of program with those little shifts, the feedback we get from that. But I'm excited about it. I think this will be a better experience. I mean, obviously more than virtual, we all kind of are enjoying the in-person experience. And I think it's really important for teens to build community with each other to be in person.
Yeah, and when designing our programs, I think we initially started, I think that's the how we became what we became now is because of that shift that in talking to our teens. So when we came into these programs with Rosa, that was the whole point when we had these initial conversations was like when we would originally do them, we were the staff who were doing our projects with them, and we realized very quickly that look, I can't get you to where you want to go when it comes to being an artist. I'm not an artist myself, but I can go find one. We can go find somebody who knows what they're talking about and is really passionate about that and can take you places that I've never seen before. So that's why we made the approach the way it was because we can bring someone in. And then we understood too, when we were talking to the artists, we took a long time to figure out which artists would match up with our teens too. So we didn't just throw anybody in there. We were very intentional about who we chose and why they were there. And then when the artists came in and once we had those conversations, they were very intentional about building that relationship with our students. And that all came from our teens. The teens wanted to reflect our teen center and that relationship building that we do and making sure that we're not just bringing someone from the outside who didn't understand them. Because this place after school can be like their second home or maybe a lot of times their first home. So we had to be very intentional about who we bring in here and making sure that they're gonna respect them, and then that respect goes both ways. And I think that all came from the teens, and it's worked out really well. We got really lucky with the artists that we've chosen, and they've made some amazing work in building great relationships with our students.
Thanks so much for answering that question. We've got another question from the chat from Joanne. What is the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
I'm just going to say hope. I have working with teens gives me hope in the future. They come with so much. I think once you get past the like apathy and the cell phone and the like, hood on and that kind of attitude, that I think is a turnoff for a lot of people and like kind of makes them feel like, oh, these kids aren't engaged or anything like that. I think once you get past kind of that teen moment and allow them to also be a teen in their own like youth development rights. And what, like I said, once you get past that, I think that you find that these are like brilliant young people. The youth are so in tune to what's going on in the world. Blame it on social media, or uplift social media for providing them a space to be able to know what's going on and to hear from different points of view. And so for me, the most rewarding part of the job is like to see what students, to look at like a poster about forced sterilization amongst women from the 70s and to see how a 17-year-old teen woman responds to that now is really empowering and uplifting, even for me. And so it's exciting to see. I have hope in the future when you really spend time with teens. I feel like you have a moment of realizing that we might all be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's a lot of hope there. Working with teams every single day, they provide that for you. But I think one of my most rewarding parts of doing this work is just seeing that kid who comes in for the first time, who doesn't think he can do the things that he ends up doing or they end up doing. It's always that's the best moment when they wake up in it and they're like, "Oh, I'm actually doing what you presented me, and we actually did it together." I think that's super rewarding in the sense that we all come in. When I was 17, I walked in the doors of the Boys and Girls Club and I had no idea what I was going to do. I was lost. And so to have a program I wish I had the art program that we're doing now. When I was 17, I might have been an artist. I don't know where I could have been then. And so it's cool to see them come in every single day, not know what they want to do, and then figure it out. And then when that leads to jobs and them making an impact in their community, like they did with that mural, I mean, those are the moments that I live for. Those are the moments why I wake up every day and come here because I want to continue to build places where they can make change in their community and feel like Napa's for them. And we're doing that. So that's why I do what we do.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I really resonate with that. The hope that comes, on both ends, the hope of, one being a professional, like, oh, okay, the youth, the young people are all right. And then on the other end of like being a young person and then finding hope and like, oh, I can do this, um, support myself, my community and make a living and a future out of it. So looking at time, it's not the sexiest question, but we gotta ask because we work in these spaces. How do we measure success when it comes to our programs? So whoever would like to kick us off on that question, please go ahead.
Well, it's really funny. I used to work at the Boys and Girls Club, and I worked with middle school students, and the voting with your feet is like a real thing, and we consider that at the museum as well. We like to say if we can get them through the doors, that's a win. And like I said, I can't cultivate every experience for them, and I'm not quite sure what every teen coming into the museum needs or is looking for, but there is something there. The Oakland Museum of California is both an art museum, a science museum, and a history museum. And so there is multiple stories reflected within that. So for us, I think we could do better at measuring success and figuring out ways that we measure that. But right now, it's about providing content that is engaging to students and teens, and then also just allowing them to come into the museum to be inspired by the artwork or the things that they see in the museum, the stories, wanting to know more. Our future artists, historians, and scientists have a spark of interest somewhere. And so we hope that like that museum can be that place for them. We know that a lot of them are only there, unlike, let's say, the Boys and Girls Club, where you kind of get to build a relationship with them and see them on a day-to-day basis. We know that they're possibly only in the museum for a few hours or for that day. And so really it's about sparking some sort of interest, some sort of curiosity, that we hope that they leave and kind of grow on their own or within their schools and things like that. So it's really about just trying to drop some knowledge, capture an interest, things like that.
Yeah, and I would say similarly. I think the way we measure success in our teen programs is when we're successful, there's more teens in our programs. I think a lot of times that's what people look at. They look at the numbers. There's more teens in here, but really it's like the quality also of what we're doing. Because what I've realized, we only have them for a certain amount of time. I get them maybe from 8th grade to 12th grade, and you get them for a few hours after school. That time is precious, and you got to be able to use that time and to make sure there's quality programming while they're here. So I also think what I've learned over the last few years, success is going to look like what they're able to do after they leave high school, after they leave our programs. What they're doing outside of our programs matters just as much too. And I used to not think that. I thought it was all about whatever we could cram into those 4 years and all the cool stuff we did. But I'm starting to realize it's about what they can do after, what they can take from what we're giving them and asking them and sparking from them and going out in their community and making an impact. And that's what we're starting to see now. In our alumni and things like that. So that's how I measure our success. When I talk to our alumni, how are you doing? What did our experience at the club do for you? And how are you carrying that on into your future?
Awesome. Thank you both. Excuse me. So looking at time, I think we have time for maybe one more question. Which we have queued up, and then as a heads up, we'd love to get, a couple like final words from y'all to drop for our folks. But to kind of close it out and kind of give some more like concrete advice, not that you haven't already, but thinking of like types of programs that folks can kind of noodle over or activities that from both of your experience have proven most popular with the students and the young people that you've served. You mentioned some already, but yeah, just to kind of give, more food for thought for folks.
I would say any programs that work for us are ones where the teens are using their voice to advocate for something in their community. So any time that you can get them out in the community advocating for something, or if they know that their artwork's going to be shown somewhere, or their work and their expression is going to be shown somewhere, that's when they're going to engage the most. I think all of us probably feel that way. But really advocacy, that's a huge thing. Leadership is something that we concentrate a lot in here in our teen centers. So all of our students really look for those opportunities because advocacy can come in a lot of different ways. And art's a way where you don't have to be the loudest in the room, but your artwork or the way you express yourself in different ways can be. So that's why they pertain to like that the most.
Yeah, I think any program that is focused on teen-led programming, really giving a sense of ownership and involvement in shaping that space, whether it's, an after-school space or a cultural space, just having them feel like a sense of ownership. I also really am a strong advocate for internship programs and volunteer opportunities, whether it's either receiving a stipend or they're receiving hours for high school or things like that. I think being able to kind of work alongside you in a way, whether that's like as an intern or things like that, I think is a really great tool for students. Like I said, it gives them student voice, but kind of like Josh was saying, it opens up a possibility to the future. And it gives them a little bit of insight into like what my job looks like and what a job at there's so many jobs at a museum. So to bring students in and to be able to see that you can work for marketing or communications, or you can help set up exhibitions, or you can work in education, or you can be a curator, that there's so many outlets that you can be inspired through. I also think that partnering with school districts or other cultural institutions is really great, and it opens the doors to more opportunities for students. And so that's something we're always looking at, is ways that you can partner with school districts or partner with other orgs, so that you can both put your resources. I know that so often we're nonprofits and our resources are limited. So just really looking at banding together to see what we can offer, I think is key.
Awesome. some great nuggets in that. Well, with that, before I go to closing remarks, anything else that you feel that is important for folks on the call today to know about the work that you're doing, and to really, kind of go forth and think about when it comes to engaging and co-creating with young people.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll just say, I've said it a few times here, is just meet teens where they're at. They do want to, I know they don't give off the image like they do want to do the things that you guys are offering. They do. They want to be engaged. They want the boundaries. They want to be able to express themselves. We just got to be the people that offers them that, and then keep doing it, because consistency is key. I've had so many times where I've come to the table and offered people an opportunity and they don't want to do it, and then 2-3 weeks later or 3 years later, they end up wanting to do it, and it's because we stay consistent. So just thank you to all of you who work in this field and are continue to offer these opportunities, because it does change kids' lives. I've got to see it firsthand every single day when they come to our teen center. I know some of you don't get to see that. I'll tell you right now, it does change their lives, having those opportunities and being able to have a space to express themselves. So thank you to all of you, and just keep doing it, please.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things is just co-creating. The whole topic of this, I think, really taking yourself in the back seat and allowing students to really have a voice is key. And that can be uncomfortable, especially when it feels like they may be you're doubting what their voice is going to say, or you're doubting if they even want to speak. Just giving them some space. I think my key thing is that instead of just passively absorbing information, if students can become active participants, it's not only going to build a sense of ownership and pride, but it really expands the learning process for them. And so it's really just about giving students a role in their learning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Every time I think you can't drop any more gems, Kelly and Josh, y'all do. So what a way to close out. And look at that. We've made great time. Thank you so much for the knowledge, the resources, and sharing that you've done, and the time that you've brought with us, to think about how we can better engage and co-create with the future, because our futures depend on it. And it really feels that way nowadays. But I digress. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for more programs and opportunities to connect with your fellow Bay Area cultural professionals. Stay up to date, get on our email list, share our email list so you can get your folks coming into, and follow us on social if you don't already. And additionally, please look out for a survey. Let us know how we did today, and let us know what else you want to see from Cultural Connections that is going to better support the amazing work that all of us are doing to support our communities in the cultural space. So with that, thank you all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Kelly and Josh, do you have a few minutes beforehand just to check in? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Just, all right.
Shoot, I'm sorry. I was just going through and getting rid of people. Sorry about that. I was just going through and clicking people's names. Okay, but we're here.
We're here. All right, cool. Oop. Oh, there. All right, y'all.
Oh, are you still recording this?
Oh, yeah, we should probably stop that.